When you hear Donald Trump say that the United States has become the garbage can for the world as a dumping ground, I mean, just as someone who, you have such an amazing success story, what do you make of that comment?
I get mad. I get pissed off. I mean, this is our country. It's beautiful. We love it. I'm still part of the older generation, love it or leave it. And to say that we've become the garbage can is insulting to every single American.
You know, when you look at your surrogacy for Harris, you've been out there stumping for her, making the argument for her. The New York Times called you the most surprising surrogate for her. You're someone who's known Donald Trump for a long time. You used to actually give him political advice. And I wonder, you know, when you describe your relationship, I was looking at this today, in 2016, you said that you and Trump had a love-hate relationship. How would you describe that relationship now?
I mean, he truths about me on Truth Social, but we don't have a relationship. That's as close as we come. I haven't spoken to him since right before he left the White House.
What do you make of how he was when you knew him 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and the candidate that you do see out on the campaign trail today?
Yeah, I mean, the weave is on his head and in his mouth, and it's not working. You know, he's slowed down. There's no question about it. Having known him for 25 years, early on in the early 2000s, you can have a legitimate conversation with him. It's just now it's talking point. And I just don't see, you can see he's declined. It's just reality. Father Time is undefeated. You can't be 78 years old and not expect some decline.
Do you think voters see it that way? I mean, obviously, it was a major issue for Biden. He's not in this race anymore because of it. They don't see Trump the same way?
No, not at all. Because Trump never is intellectual about anything. You don't ever think of Donald Trump and think, wow, that was really an in-depth conversation he had with somebody. You don't think of Donald Trump and say, that was really nuanced in what he had to say about this position or his policy. You don't hear him talk in-depth about policies at all. And so you can get by with just sound bites. You can get by with being loud and boisterous and salesy. And to some people, that comes across as being the right thing to do.
I mean, it comes across like that to a lot of people. We're looking at how close this race is. And, you know, we had the town hall with Harris this week. We heard from voters saying, I want specifics from her. I want to know what my taxes are going to look like when I'm filing them in April if she's in the Oval Office. And just when you compare that, as it's now become the same, people are focusing on the double standard that the both of them face. You know, Trump's plan is tariffs, which, you know,
don't work.
He likens to, or Harris likens to a Trump sales tax. And drill, baby, drill is what he told me at the town hall.
Going to work.
Well, also, the U.S. is producing more oil right now than we ever have,
Well, neither side really. That's just the nature of the candidacy. Neither side gets into details because Kamala Harris came into this race 13 weeks ago in a deficit in awareness. Even Donald Trump said, who is Kamala Harris? Nobody knows who she is. So she spent the last 13 weeks letting people get to know her. It's tough to do that and to get into detail on policy. Donald Trump has been doing this for 9 years, and he still hasn't gotten into depth in policy.
But why do you think he's not punished for not having policy, but she is?
Well, it's like anything else. If you never do something,
not having details, I should say.
Yeah, it's like anything else. If you never do something, you're not expected to do it. If you hear policy and you hear analysis and you have somebody who's pragmatic and open-minded like Kamala Harris, then you expect more and you expect different things. We all have friends who aren't going to talk in depth about anything. Donald Trump's one of those people.
But listen to this one voter, because this isn't just a media, conversation that we're having or within the campaign. This voter, Pam Thistle, the other night, I was so struck by her, listening to her. She's a widow, and she was talking about, putting her kids through school, paying her bills. This is what she said about how she's making this decision.
Stop trashing each other. We don't care. Stop trashing Trump. Trump, stop trashing the vice president. We don't care. The voters don't care. We don't even know the people they're talking about, that this person said this and that. How does that impact the voters? That's who you're talking to. That's who you're serving. This feels like high school gossip. We don't care. We don't want to hear it.
And she's not wrong. People just want to live their lives. They want to get through their lives. They're so stressed by all this. They don't get it. They're not saying to themselves, okay, let me take an in-depth look at different policies. Just communicate to me in a way that lets me know that I can do something with confidence. It's about trust. And I think Kamala Harris, that in those 13 weeks, just to be tied, all things considered, she's been building trust. Again, it makes it hard to go out there and talk in detail about taxes and business, which is why she has surrogates like me. I can go into the weeds and talk about any of these subjects.
Are you worried she hasn't had enough time?
Yeah.
Do you think that could hurt her in 11 days?
I mean, if she had 26 weeks or 52 weeks, it would be completely different. People would know her better. She would have had more time to talk about details, but she doesn't. And like a good CEO, like a good leader, she's put together a team, including myself and others, to go out and communicate things she doesn't have time to communicate.
Reason.
Yeah, you're not wrong, Simone. I mean, look, it's terrifying. He talks about it daily. You know, listen what he says, right? Hear what he has to say. There's a reason why he is saying it over and over and over again. He talks about the enemy within. He's starting to name names of examples of people he finds to be enemies. It's, you know, it's not a question of if, it's a question of how. And that's all the more reason we need to get Kamala Harris in office.
So on that note, Mark, as a continuing example of Simone's point about the chilling effect that Donald Trump is having on not just our nation's politics, but on our business and business leaders, you have the New York